Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All the Brahmanas who were engaged in the various activities of the sacrifice were very pleased with Lord Ramachandra, who was greatly affectionate and favorable to the Brahmanas. Thus, with melted hearts, they returned all the property received from him and spoke as follows. Purport. In the previous chapter, it was said that the prajas, the citizens, strictly followed the system of varnashrama dharma. The Brahmanas acted exactly like Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas exactly like Kshatriyas, and so on. Therefore, when Lord Ramchandra gave everything in charity to the Brahmanas being qualified, wisely considered that Brahmanas are not meant to possess property to make a profit from it. The qualifications of a Brahmana are given in Bhagavad Gita 1842. Shamodamas shaucham kshantirarjavamevacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma swabhavajam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. These are the qualities by which the Brahmanas work. The Brahminical character offers no scope for possessing land and ruling citizens. These are the duties of a Kshatriya. Therefore, although the Brahmanas did not refuse Lord Ramchandra's gift, after accepting it, they returned it to the king. The Brahmanas were so pleased with Lord Ramchandra's affection toward them that their hearts melted. They saw that Lord Ramchandra, aside from being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was fully qualified as a Kshatriya and was exemplary in character. One of the qualifications of a Kshatriya is to be charitable. A Kshatriya or ruler levies taxes upon the citizens not for his personal sense gratification, but to give charity in suitable cases. Dhanam Ishvara Bhavaha. On one hand, Kshatriyas have the propensity to rule, but on the other, they are very liberal with charity. When Maharaj Yudhishthir gave charity, he engaged Karna to take charge of distributing it. Karna was very famous as Data Karna. The word Data refers to one who gives charity very liberally. The kings always kept a large quantity of food grains in stock, and whenever there was any scarcity of grains, they would distribute grains in charity. A Kshatriya's duty is to give charity, and a Brahmana's duty is to accept charity, but not more than needed to maintain body and soul together. Therefore, when Brahmanas were given so much land by Lord Ramachandra, they returned it to him and were not greedy. Om Jnanathimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnuvadaya Krishnaprasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Canto 9, Chapter 11 is a beautiful chapter, and it begins with the qualities of Ramachandra's magnanimity. And the first incident of prasanga in this chapter is how Lord Ramchandra performed sacrifices. After coming back to Ayodhya, he performed sacrifices, and after performing those sacrifices, he gave dana. Dana is charity. So there are a few verses, text 2, 3, 4, and then text 5. So I would like to go through the text 2, 3, 4, and then come to text 5. So text number 2 says, Hotre dadad disham prachim brahmane dakshinam prabhu advaryave pratichim va uttaram samagaya saha. Hotre dadad disham prachim. So when the sacrifice was done, when the yajna was done, generally in the yajna there are 4 brahmanas who are required to perform a yajna. Some of you are engaged in yajna, so probably you know who the 4 brahmanas are who are required for a yajna. Advaryu, Udgata. Yajman is not a brahmana, he is the recipient. Okay, so we have 4 brahmanas. The first is Brahma. The first brahmana, his title is Brahma. He is a master of all the Vedas, but especially the Atharva Veda. The other brahmana is called Hota. He is the expert on Rig Veda. And then the third brahmana is called Advaryu, as Prabhuji mentioned. He is master of the Yajur Veda. And the fourth brahmana is called Udgata, who is the master of the Sama Veda. So why are 4 people needed? Why can one person not perform the yajna? The four the 4 brahmanas, they have specific duties. The easiest way to understand is to understand how one would invite a respectable guest. First of all, you send the invitation. Then, when the guest arrives, you look after the guest. And if he is a very important guest, you would also entertain the guest. Correct? And then there would be somebody overseeing the whole function and making sure nothing is going out of order. So these brahmanas, 4 brahmanas, essentially have the same duty. So the Hota, who chants the Rig Veda mantra, he invites the Lord to come to the Yajna Kunda. He is inviting. Rig Veda mantra, the richas, are focused on invitation. So he is sending out the invitation. The Hota is sending out the invitation. My dear Lord, please come to this Yajna. Once the Lord has arrived, the Advaryu, he chants the Yajurveda, the Krishna Yajurveda and the Shukla Yajurveda. And by chanting that Yajurveda, he is also making oblations. So he is looking after, he is feeding the Lord. And Agni is like the mouth of the Lord. So he is feeding the Lord. So you have an important dignitary arrived already. He is being fed. And the Udgata, who chants the Samaveda, and if you hear the Samaveda, it has very long intonations. It's like singing, almost. So the Udgata, who chants the Sama verses, he is glorifying the Lord. So the Lord is here, he is sitting, he is having his feast, he is accepting the offerings of sacrifice, and he is being entertained at the same time through glorification. And then the Brahma priest, he is a master of Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda has mantras which are like fixed mantras, to fix something. So whatever errors are being performed by the Rigvedi, the Yajurvedi and the Samavedi are being fixed by this Brahma. So the Brahma priest is the overseer of this whole ceremony. So these 4 priests are needed if you do a yajna. But then there are so many types of yajna. So if you do a Agnihotra yajna, you only need 1 priest. You could do with only the Brahma or even the Advaryu. So like that. We are not going deep in that subject. But the reason I mention it, it's a deep topic. We can go in that. There is another section in the 7th canto where this is explained in detail. But in this verse, Ramchandra says, Hotre dadad disham prachim. To the Hotra, to the Hota priest, he gave the disha, the direction of east. So Ramchandra had finished sacrifice. The 4 priests were there. His Acharya, who is Ramchandra's Acharya? Vasishtha was there. Now is the time. So after the Yajman has completed the sacrifice, so on behalf of the Yajman, the 4 Brahmanas have done the sacrifice. The Yajman, the person for whom they have done the sacrifice, is supposed to give them donation. And here is an example of generosity. So what does Ramchandra give? He says, the verse says, Hotra dadad disham prachim. The entire prachi disha, the entire eastern direction was given to the Hotra. Okay, now everything that is on the east belongs to you. Lord Ramchandra is giving the whole east. Brahmane dakshinam Prabhu. Lord Ramchandra, the master, he gave to the Brahma priest dakshina, the entire south. So he said, you take the entire south direction. Everything in the south direction. Advaryave pratichim va. And to the Advaryu, the Yajurvedi Brahman, he gave the entire western pratichi, the western direction. Everything that belongs to the west of where we are is now yours. Uttaram Samagayasaha. And to the Udgata, the Samavedi Brahman, he said, everything that belongs to the north is yours. So this is the generosity of the Lord. The next verse is Acharyaya dadau shesham yavati bhustadantara manyamana idam kritsnam brahmano rhati nispruha. Acharyaya dadau shesham. Whatever remained. So what remained? If you give away the north, south, east, west, what remains? The middle portion. So the middle portion he gave to Acharya, to Vasishtha. He said, Acharya, this is yours. Acharyaya dadau shesham yavati bhustadantara. In the middle, tadantara. Manya, why did he do this? Why did he give all of it away? So the answer is given in the verse. Manyamanaha idam kritsnam brahmanaha arhati nispraha. Brahmanas are nispraha. They do not desire anything. They have no desires. And hence, they are fit to receive everything. Just see, generally we say if we have desires, we should get. But here, he's saying, Brahmanas have no desires, and so they are the rightful candidates for receiving everything. So there are 2 things we learn from, there are 2 important siddhantas. The first siddhanta in the second text is that giving should be done generously. Like Lord Ramchandra giving the 4 directions and the middle. Giving should be done generously. And there is a beautiful sentence Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, which I would like to elaborate upon. When Maharaj Yudhishthir gave charity, he engaged Karna to take charge of distributing it. Karna was very famous as Data Karna. So Karna was, who was Karna? He was son of Kunti Devi through the sun god. And he was known as Data, the great giver, very liberal giver. And we see that Yudhishthir Maharaj, when he performed the yajna, Ashwamedha, before the war of Kurukshetra, not after, before the war. There was one yajna performed after also. So this is before the war. When the yajna was performed, he made Karna in charge of giving. Why Karna? So Karna is a very interesting character in the Mahabharata. From Karna we learn he had three bad qualities, but he had one good quality. The three bad qualities that Karna possessed. Anyone? What qualities Karna possessed? Any bad quality he possessed? Yes, Prabhu.
Bad association.
Exactly. So he kept bad association and he felt indebted towards that association, towards that bad association. That was the first bad quality. The other bad quality was that he was very proud of his chivalry. He considered himself to be a great Yuddha, warrior. He thought that he was a great warrior. And the third thing, he was extremely lusty. And there are many episodes to prove that. So these three bad qualities, but one good quality he possessed, and that was he was able to give liberally. There's one very beautiful incident in Mahabharata which demonstrates this. So sometimes the Lord uses his parshadas like Arjuna, confidential devotees like Arjuna, to demonstrate some qualities. And Karna had this quality of giving. So the Lord wanted to demonstrate how giving should be liberal. Like we see in this first verse, Ramchandra giving. So, just very quickly, the pastime is that Arjuna is once inquiring to Lord Krishna, why is Karna considered to be, as Prabhupada mentions, a great data? Why is he considered to be a great giver? And why not me, for instance? Arjuna is saying. Because I give away things in charity to the rightful candidate. So why not me? Why Karna? So Krishna, to instruct, yes, Prabhu. Yeah, that is the pastime where Karna gives away his everything, his ultimate shield to Indra. Although Indra is his enemy, he knows that Indra is father of Arjuna. So, but this was another pastime. So he takes Arjuna to a secluded place, to a field. And instantly the Lord creates 2 mountains of gold. And then the Lord says to Arjuna, okay, now you have a task at hand. You are going to give away one of this mountain to anyone you choose. But you should not come back to me until you finish the job. You have to give the whole mountain of gold, you have to give away. So Arjuna says, okay, I will give it away. And he goes to a nearby village and he makes an announcement. Please come and queue, line up. I'm going to give you gold to everyone. Whoever comes, I'll give gold. Please come. So everyone comes to the mountain of gold. Arjuna starts, digging, chopping off the gold. He had a very powerful weapon which was like Vajra. He could even, diamond can cut everything. So he could chop off even gold. So he started distributing. And the entire village received gold. But the mountain did not diminish even an inch. So he went on. He called another village. He called a third village. But there was no, the mountain wouldn't finish. He was exhausted. He went to the Lord. He said, I don't understand. Why is this happening? So the Lord said, okay, now let us call Karna. So the Lord calls Karna and he asks Karna, please give away. And the Lord says to Arjuna, I will give him more difficult task than you. I will tell him to give away both the mountains. Yeah. So he said, Karna, you give away both the mountains. So Karna goes to the village. He randomly chooses 2 people. He calls them in front of the mountain and he says, this one is yours, that one is yours. And he walks away. And he walks away and he does not even turn around to look what is happening next. He says, that is yours, that is yours. And he walks away. And he does not turn around to look. And Arjuna says, wow, I didn't think of that. And the Lord says, you didn't think of it because somewhere subtly you had this abhilasha. We have to be anya abhilashata shunyam, right? Jnana, karmadi, everything. Shunya. But Arjuna, the Lord says, you had this abhilasha of prashamsa somewhere. That's why you called the villagers. You made sure they... And he said, no, I did not have that abhilasha. Then the Lord said, and you also somewhere deep inside had the desire to possess the same, the gold. So you see, giving is liberal. You don't even look behind once you give. So that was Karna. And hence Karna was the best candidate to be in charge of giving. Because Maharaj Yudhishthir, who is Dharmaraj, he understood that nobody can give like Karna gives. So when these guests have come, these Brahmanas have come to my Ashwamedh Yajna, the giving, the best form of giving can be done by Karna. There is another pastime, interesting, about Maharaj Yudhishthir and Karna. Let me remember. So, Maharaj Yudhishthir is known as Dharmaraj. We all know he is known as Dharmaraj. And Karna is known as Data. He is a great giver, liberal giver. So again, Arjuna once questioned that Yudhishthir Maharaj is Dharmaraj and Arjuna is the great giver. So not Arjuna, Karna is the great giver. So why is Yudhishthir Maharaj not the greatest giver? He is Dharmaraj. He should be the greatest giver. So Krishna told Arjuna, let us do one thing. I will show you practically. So he dressed up, the Lord and Arjuna, they both dressed up and disguised themselves as Brahmanas. And they approached Yudhishthir Maharaj. And it was the rainy season, Varsha, Vrishti. So in the rainy season, all the trees are wet. And Yudhishthir Maharaj was in the palace. The 2 Brahmanas, Krishna and Arjuna, disguised as Brahmanas, approached Yudhishthir Maharaj and asked, O king, you are magnanimous. We are here to beg you for some stuff that we need. And Yudhishthir Maharaj said, ask whatever you may and I will please you. And then they said, we are performing a yajna and we need some dry sandalwood. Yudhishthir Maharaj said, sure, I will get you some dry sandalwood. So he sent his men to the forest. But it was raining. There was no dry sandalwood. There was only wet sandalwood, which cannot be used in a yajna. So after searching and searching, the party came back and informed Yudhishthir Maharaj there is no dry sandalwood. Yudhishthir Maharaj, like it is mentioned in the Dharma Shastra, that if somebody, especially if a Brahmana, Vaishnava, asks you something, requests you something, and if you are not able to fulfill that, you should provide an alternative. You should be willing to provide an alternative. So Maharaj Yudhishthir accordingly, according to the Dharma Shastra, he provided the alternative. He said, I'm very sorry that I'm not able to find dry wood for you. Is there anything else I can do for you? Anything else? And Krishna and Balaram said, no, it's all right, we'll manage. And they left. And then they went to the palace of Karna. Karna's palace was smaller than Yudhishthira Maharaj's palace. It was donated by Duryodhana. So Karna was there, and when the Brahmanas came, Karna said, how can I serve you? And Krishna, pretending to be the Brahmana, said, we have heard your fame in the three worlds, that you are the magnanimous giver. Can you please give us some dry sandalwood? So similarly, Karna sends his men, they come back and they say there is no dry wood. Karna then takes his sword and he rips off the doors and the windows and the ceiling panels of his own palace, which are made of sandalwood. And the palace starts crumbling down. And he says, all this wood is yours. It's all dry and it's all yours. And he does not even blink when he gives. So like that, so Yudhishthira Maharaj, although Dharmaraj considered Karna as the best giver, so he engages Karna. As Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, when Maharaj Yudhishthira gave charity, he engaged Karna to take charge of distributing it. Because Karna knew how to distribute it. So here we see that the first verse, the four Brahmanas were satisfied by Ramchandra. The second verse, Acharyaya dadau shesham, whatever was in the middle, tadantara, was given to Acharya, to Vasishtha. So the Siddhanta we learn from this verse is that even if one satisfies the Vaishnavas, the position of the spiritual master or the Acharya still remains at the center and still remains special. So one must never forget the spiritual master. And so the next verse, the fourth verse is Ityayam tadalankara vasobhyam avasheshitaha. Iti ayam tadalankara vasobhyam avasheshitaha. The only thing that remained avashesha, that remained on Ramchandra, was Tatha Rajni api Vaidehi Saumangalya avasheshita. Whatever was Sumangala. Sumangala meaning that which recognizes Sita Devi as a married woman. So her nose ring, her bangles, and one necklace. Apart from that, Sita Devi gave everything to the Brahmanas. And also her clothes. And Ramchandra also gave everything away except for the clothes that he was wearing and except for all the jewelry and his crown and everything else. He did not give that away. Vasobhyam tad alankara vasobhyam avasheshitaha. So Shesha, the remainder, was only the Vasa, the clothes, and Alankara. Alankara means his ornaments. Everything else he gave. So the question may arise, why did he not give away the ornaments? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says actually Sita Devi gave away everything except the nose ring and the bangles. And then Vijay Dhwaja and other acharyas, they also agree. But Vamshidhara, in his commentary, he gives a beautiful, he questions. He says one might wonder, Ramchandra was very generous, but he did not, he gave away everything, all directions, including the center, the middle. But he did not give away his clothes and his ornaments. And then one may wonder, well, clothes is understandable. He needs to cover his body. But what about ornaments? Why did he not give it away? So he answers that also, Vamshidhara. Any devotee wants to Give it a go. Yes, Prabhu.
The ornaments are the signs of him being a king.
Ornaments are signs of him being a king, okay? Yes, but maybe not every ornament, right? Maybe not the rings or something like that. So anyone else? Yes, Prabhu. Present by his wife Sita Mata. Oh, I don't know. Could be. Maybe, we don't know. Like the Jain philosophers, they say, Syat asti nasti va. Maybe it is, maybe it is not. If you ask Lord Buddha, is there God? Yeah? Then Buddha will simply laugh. No answer. Is there God? He will just laugh. So we see this picture of Buddha laughing. You know, when he laughs, when you ask him, is there God? He just laughs. You ask a Jain monk, is there God? Then he says, Syat asti nasti va. Maybe he is, maybe he is not. Speculation. So, interesting speculation. It is Sita Devi's gift to Ramchandra. So Vamshidhar answers. Vamshidhar says, and this is another Siddhanta, practical Siddhanta that we should understand. Vamshidhar Acharya says that because Lord Ramchandra considered his ornaments and his crown to be his Uchchishta. Anyone understands Uchchishta? His remnants. So he said, this is unfit. This is used. This is used material. I cannot give what is used already to the Brahmanas. It will be offensive. And hence he did not give. And that is the correct standard to be followed when one gives. One should not give the most useless thing one possesses to somebody. One should not give used thing to someone. I was once invited in a birthday party with one of my colleague's son's birthday. And I went to another colleague's house. He was also an Indian colleague. And I asked him, okay, we have to leave now. He said, I almost forgot that I should get a gift for the child. And he has his own son. He was playing with a nice train, this, can't remember what it is called, but some Thomas train. And with a train track. And he was playing, and suddenly the father said, I'll come in 5 minutes. And I said, there is no time for you to go and get the gift now, it's too late. He said, no, I'll come in 5 minutes. And suddenly he went away, and then his wife came, and she took away the tracks in the train, and the child was crying, and I was trying to entertain the child. And he came back in about 5-6 minutes. He said, let's go, I have the gift. I said, okay, what is the gift? Where did you get it from? Oh, I got a nice Thomas train track. And I said, really? He said, I have a habit of keeping all the boxes. And once my children are happy and satisfied, I pack them, repack them and give it away as gifts. Very Indian, sorry, I'm Indian myself, so I can say this because I am from an Indian background. So, yeah, Indians think like this, just they give it to someone, just not Vaishnava standard. So Siddhanta here, Ramchandra is saying, even a crown, even a king's crown, most of us will not mind if, our Queen Elizabeth, she comes to the manor and she says, okay, here is the crown. We say, okay, very good. Thank you. Ramchandra is saying, I cannot give this because it is Uchchishta. So we don't give anything which is impure or used. This is a Siddhanta. Another pastime of Karna comes to mind. When Karna was, in fact, I'll go to the next verse and then I will tell you the pastime because there are two things in that. That is this verse. Te tu brahmana devasya vatsalyam vikshya samstutam Tetu Brahmana Devasya. Lord Ramchandra is mentioned here as Brahmana Deva, means the Lord of the Brahmanas. Vatsalyam, his incredible love. Vikshya, having seen. Samstutam, the Brahmanas started glorifying him. So the Brahmanas, the 4 Brahmanas and Acharya, they received everything, they accepted it. And then they felt so overwhelmed. So Veer Raghavacharya of Madhvacharya Sampradaya says, they felt so overwhelmed that they started melting and crying. Veer Raghavacharya says, they felt so overwhelmed. How can you do? You are the king, you're giving us away everything. It's just so magnanimous. So, Pritaha. Pritaha means out of love. Klinna dhiyas. Their mind was crying. Klinna means wet. Klinna dhiyas. Tasmai pratyarpya. Pratyarpya means they returned. Pratyarpya, to give it back. Idam, everything that they got. Babhashire, and they spoke. So whoever is the speaker tomorrow will go to the next verse, which says what they spoke. But you can see here that everything that they were given, they returned back. Everything that they were given, they returned back. Why did they return back? Pritaha, out of love. They returned back out of love. So there is another principle which is learned, another Siddhanta that is learned from here. And that is generally according to Dharma Shastra. One must not either ask back anything that one has given or accept in return if somebody returns things back. One should not. According to Dharma Shastra, Ramchandra is supposed to be the embodiment of Dharma. Correct? So how come Ramchandra accepted back what he had already given? It doesn't sound right. So, various acharyas, Varadraj Acharya, who is from the Varadraj, and Veer Raghavacharya, who is from the Sri Sampradaya, they comment on this and they say that it was accepted back by Ramchandra because the Brahmanas gave it in return out of love. And Vamshidhar gives 3 reasons. First, he says that Brahmanas gave it back out of love. And according to Agastya Muni, in the Uttarakand of the Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, it is mentioned that anything that is given or returned back out of love is accepted. So, Ramchandra did not go against the principles of Dharma, because it was not returned out of any sort of, I don't want it or that sort of a mood. It was returned because they were overwhelmed. So Vamshidhar gives 3 reasons. He says it was returned because, number 1, out of love. Number 2, because they were overwhelmed with possessing so much. They would be satisfied with simply a cow. 1 cow each. But instead they were given so much. And number 3, because they thought of themselves, the Brahmanas thought of themselves as completely unfit to possess the land, because they would not be able to rule the land. They would not be able to manage the land. So these 3 reasons are given by Vamshidhara. So we understand that generally one must not even think of expecting any return from anyone once the gift is given. Gift is never given with a motivation of expecting a return. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport beautifully, the summary of the purport is 2 things, 2 siddhantas. Number 1, a Brahmana does not accept more than what is necessary for him to keep his body and soul together. He is not interested. And number 2, very important, is a Brahmana gives away in charity. Yes, Brahmana also gives in charity. So 6 karmas of a Brahmana, we all know that. Anyone? Okay, Patana. To study the Vedas, to teach the Vedas, or study the scriptures, teach the scriptures. Yajana, to worship and to teach others how to worship. Last two are Danam, Pratigrahanam. Generally we think that it's Brahmana means they should only accept. Pratigrahanam, which means to accept. But one of the 6 activities of a Brahmana is Danam. So Brahmanas in this room should ask themselves, how much Danam do we do? Right? So one may say, I preach. That is Patana. But anything, any attachment that we have. So Brahmanas give it away to the right candidate. So what we saw here is that the Brahmanas accepted the 4 directions, everything, and they gave it back to Lord Ramchandra, because Ramchandra was the fit candidate to receive that gift. So it became the Brahmana's gift back to the Lord. But they gave it to the Lord, they could have given it to anyone. Because once something is given, once Ramchandra had given those directions away, they now became the directions now came under the ownership of the 4 Brahmanas. So they could have done whatever they wanted. But instead they gave it back to Lord Ramchandra. And Shukdev Acharya of Nimbarka Sampradaya, he says that, actually he says in the commentary to the next verse number 6, he says that the Brahmanas gave back because they considered Lord Ramchandra to be their Lord and their Guru. So as Guru Dakshina they gave it back. There are wonderful ways of explaining. So anyway, so we understand these 2 principles from Srila Prabhupada's purport, that Brahmanas do not accept more than necessary and they give it away to the right candidate. They do Danam to the right candidates. Like the Brahmanas giving away the land back to Lord Ramachandra. So the pastime I wanted to mention about Karna, very briefly, very quickly, was in connection to both of these things. Generally, once something is given out, is not accepted back. And one must not give anything that is uchishta, that is impure or used. So we see Karna, I don't know how much I can speak, but the Takshaka, we all know Takshaka, the snake. The snake Takshaka is actually, he is the king of Nagalok. He is the king of the Nagas. And he is a great friend of Indra. So when the barren land of Khandavaprastha was gifted away to the 5 Pandavas, there were some trees and some other shrubs and thorny cactuses, etc. in that Khandavaprastha. So Lord Krishna and Arjuna, instigated by Agni, they burned the Khandavaprastha to make it a proper land, tillable land. And when they burned the Khandavaprastha, at that time Takshaka's wife, who was pregnant, she was there in the Khandavaprastha. Takshaka also lived in Khandavaprastha, Kurukshetra. So Takshaka's wife got burnt and she died because of Arjuna's burning the Khandavaprastha. But in Takshaka's wife's womb was Ashwasena, who was a snake, a little baby who was saved. He is Takshaka's son. And this Ashwasena always remained in Kurukshetra. So during the Kurukshetra war, when Karna was firing arrows against Arjuna, while he was firing the arrows, Ashwasena, he entered into the quiver of Karna and Karna took him and fired towards Arjuna. Why did Ashwasena go there? Because he wanted to take revenge for the death of his mother. He wanted to kill Arjuna. Because Arjuna burned the forest, Khanda forest, in which his mother had burnt. Are you still with me? A little bit? Okay. So, Ashwasena wanted to take revenge. Ashwasena was fired by Karna. Lord Krishna understood that if Ashwasena bites Arjuna, then Arjuna will have a difficult time. So just at that moment, he swivered the chariot and the Ashwasena just missed his target. He hit Arjuna's crown and the snake fell on the ground and the crown fell on the ground. And then Ashwasena went back to Karna and he entered the quiver again and he told Karna, fire me again, once again. And Karna said, I'm sorry. Once given, cannot take it back. He is a man he knew how to give, right? So he said, I've given you once, I can't do it, I can't take you back. Sorry, I can't accept it. See, this is so he did not accept him. And then of course Ashwasena then tries to go and bite or fight with Arjuna, and Arjuna chops him into two. And then Takshaka takes vow that he will revenge this by killing the descendants of the last known descendant of the Pandavas. And then Takshaka seemingly kills Parikshit. And then when Karna is dying, at that time again Krishna, to test him, Krishna goes to Karna while Karna is dying, and Krishna goes as a Brahman, disguised as a Brahman, and he says, oh dying soul. So Karna says, soul doesn't die, he knows. So he says, so you are not only a great giver, but you are also a great jnani. So please, give me something. You are a great data, so give me something. So Karna does not even have his bow. He has his bow, but the bow string is broken. So he is not able to move. Karna is not able to move, so what can he give? So he takes a big stone which is lying next to him, and he hits himself in the face, in the mouth. And he keeps hitting himself till blood gushes out, and then from his mouth, he pulls 2 golden teeth that he had. And he says, this is yours. And Krishna steps back and he says, I'm going to curse you if you give me this. This is your uchishta. This is your, filthy. It's not pure. It's from your mouth. How can I take it? So it is said in Dharma Shastra again that you can give uchishta in certain circumstances. For example, Guru can give. For example, magnanimous Vaishnavas can give uchishta. So those of us who consider ourselves to be magnanimous Vaishnavas, we can give uchishta. Okay, that is fine. And the third is when there is no other alternative, but dharma must be performed, dana must be performed, then you can give uchishta. So that category was fulfilled because Karna had no other way, he was dying. But he was still willing to give. So he suffered so much incredible pain, but he removed his teeth, he gave. Krishna stepped back and did not accept. He said, hang on, I'm going to curse you. You're giving me uchishta. So he somehow moves forward. He finds a bowstring from another bow. He ties his bow, the bow that he had. He takes an arrow. He shoots the arrow into the ground. And there's a spring water that comes out. He cleans the teeth in that water. And then he offers to the Lord. And then he says, my dear Lord, you are the possessor of the 3 worlds. Will you stop testing me now? So he knew it was Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna is very pleased with him. So Karna is not our role model. However, he had this one good quality of dana, generosity, that we understand. Okay, so with this, many wonderful things are there. So we end here. Thank you very much for listening. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.